It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Welcome to County-Wide. I'm Paul David. Good to have you in studio today. With us is Scott Mabery, a director of the Juvenile Probation Department in Yavapai County, and apparently it's been a few years since we've had you here.
It's been about 3.
I say that almost every time during the show, too, because I look at the guest and I think, oh, I just saw you maybe a month or two ago, and it turns out it's years.
Last time it wasn't on film. Last time it was radio.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
So how you been?
Good. Everything's good. Yeah. We're busy. Yeah.
You're busy.
A lot of job security in juvenile, for sure. Yeah.
Unfortunately, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we always talk about, it'd be nice if we didn't have to have cops, juvenile, courts, all that stuff, but we do.
It's all necessary.
It is all necessary. You've got a new building. And that's when last time we had you here, that's what we were talking about. And I hadn't realized all these years have gone by, and now we're almost there.
Right.
Yeah.
We started about 4 years ago in the planning stages, almost right when the recession hit. And then we're about to open November 2nd. We're going to open it in 2 phases. This building is going to encompass probation, dependency, delinquency, CASA. We're going to be working with the county attorney's office, public defender, the detention side of things. We're really hoping to have it as a one-stop shop for all of juvenile needs in Yavapai County.
So now I guess everybody has to, run to different buildings and do that.
Yeah. And it just makes sense to have everybody under one roof, because oftentimes you have a dependent kid and a delinquent kid, and oftentimes they're the same kid, and it's different agencies working in their own little silo, for this kid, and so this is going to help with communication and making sure that we're all working towards the same goal for this kid.
So how are you sleeping with all this construction going on?
Not as well. Not as well as I did about 3 years ago. So
Chip Davis was in here, I'm going to say a couple months ago, and probably more than that, but he was mentioning how it was almost done and ready to go. And then as he was saying that, I was thinking, oh, I got to get Scott in here and talked about the building. And then you said, well, we better hold off a little bit on that. And so
and it's been pushed back. We were actually scheduled to be in it in August, and then got pushed back to November for various reasons. But that extra time is helping me sleep a little better, because we have to redo all of our policies and procedures, and really redo the entire way we do business in juvenile. So
how's that been for you? Good challenge?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I'm so privileged to be a part of this process. It's great.
What's been one of the highlights for you?
I think just the planning and all the details that go into a building like that. You would have no idea, especially with the secure care detention center like we have. It's amazing, all the small details you never think of, and being in that, I call it the dog pound that we've been housing kids in for the past 30 years. You take for granted some of the safety and security things, and then also some of the programming needs that kids have. This building is really designed around rehabilitation and giving these kids some positive things to learn and do while they're detained, rather than just locking them down and housing them like dogs sometimes. It's really designed to make them better than when we got them.
Compare the old building, the one you're in right now, with the new size and what it's going to feature, the new one as opposed to the old. And why was the old one so?
Well, the current building is. The infrastructure was built in 1974, and it was only built for 24 kids. And over the years, we've expanded the building itself to, and the rooms are made for one kid. And there were times 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when we were hitting 60, 65 kids in this building, and we were double bunking them, having them, and that's where we have all the problems.
Why is that a problem?
Well, when you put 2 kids in a small, confined space and leave them there for a long period of time, they're going to find things to do, and it's not always good. It's usually a pretty negative thing that happens. So That's one of the challenges in the building. We had a lot of kids sleeping on the floors and that type of thing. And then it's called a linear cell block design. So you walk down this long hall, and it's just like what you see in a jail. And the problem with that is you don't have any place for programming. We have a lot of counselors, we have a lot of rehabilitative programs, a lot of education, a lot of life skills that we should be giving these kids when they come into the detention center. And we're not able to do it in our current facility. Mm-hmm. Now, the new facility is a pod design, which means...
Like the jail?
It's like the jail,
jail,
right. So you're going to have services that come in, and we're going to what's called direct supervision. So our detention officers are now being trained on interacting and doing positive programming with these kids while we have them. And so this whole building is designed around education, positive programming, life skills, and making these kids a little better than when we got them.
So these kids, when they come in and they're there for a period of time, kind of what is their daily routine inside the facility?
Well, they get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. They're required to shower. They're required to. We actually feed them 3 times a day. They spend. In our current facility, they're in school 4 hours a day. In the new facility, they're going to be in school 6 hours a day. We have physical education requirements, all those type of things. So we're going to up their schooling when we get into the new facility, because it's got a nice classroom and a computer lab. And many of the kids that we have that are long-term kids and frequent flyers, they don't go to school, and that's one of the reasons we have them. Mm-hmm. And so. They come to us, and guess what? You're going to go to school.
So you take all these kids, and I guess they're in cells,
right? And
then you take them all to a classroom setting. And
right.
In the new building now, are you just going to have kind of a classroom setting in the pods, or?
Well, it can go both ways.
Okay.
There's room for the classroom in the pods, but there is. We work with Tim Carter's department, and we've got 4 teachers that work inside the detention center, and quite frankly, I think it's the best run classroom in the county. Mm-hmm. Definitely the most well behaved, because most classrooms don't have detention officers in them, yeah. And so the kids are pretty well behaved in there. And but this new design actually has 4 classrooms in it, so they can separate these kids into the needs that they have. Our current facility is a classroom about the size of this room, mm-hmm. and we cram those kids in, and having to do it through shifts and that type of thing, and it's not effective. So we're looking forward to that.
Sleeping arrangements, much more room there too, huh? How many kids can you actually house right now that you do house?
I mean, again, it was designed for 24 mm-hmm. through expansion and putting steel bunks in rooms that it wasn't designed for. We run 57.
And this new building?
Is 80.
80 kids.
So, right.
How many do you see normally?
The funny thing is, if you had asked me 3 years ago, we were running 60. And everybody was gearing up through this recession, and our numbers have fallen off. And
why is that?
There's a lot of theories. I mean, through the budget cuts, one of the theories is we've had less police on the streets, and hence you have less arrests. Nobody really knows, because this phenomenon has happened across the United States. It's
really?
Not just Yavapai County, or Arizona.
So fewer kids in trouble, at least fewer kids incarcerated with you.
Right, but it seems like right now we're seeing an uptick, and everything goes through cycles. I've been in this business for 20 years, and we see these highs and lows. And
when are the highs and lows in the year for you? Because I'm thinking summer vacation.
Well, the lows typically for juvenile are around summer and Christmas.
Those are the lows.
Those are the lows.
Times when they're off and at home and out and about and doing their thing.
Right.
But when school is in session,
those are our highs. Yeah.
That is. Yeah. I thought it would be completely backwards.
Everybody does. It's a strange thing.
Well, I'm with everybody then.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, we got to take a break. Yavapai County Juvenile Probation Director Scott Mabery in studio today. I'm Paul David. This is County-Wide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
So, I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
I think someone at my friend's school has this thing called autism. My friend's brother's son has autism. My neighbor's son has autism. My son has autism.
Autism is getting closer to home. Today, 1 in 110 children is diagnosed with autism. That's a 600% increase in the last 20 years. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Danse, balance la cadence, ondule bien tes hanches, au bal du dimanche. Danse, que la fête commence. Dans ma belle...
You didn't give up on sex. Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org.
Welcome back to Countywide. Yavapai County Juvenile Probation Director Scott Mabery in studio. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. What kind of security do you have there? Is it similar to what you'd see at the Camp Verde Jail?
Yeah, I think it's almost the same. And in this new center, we've got state-of-the-art cameras and security equipment and touch screen as opposed to our 1974 technology and light-up buttons and different things that were going on in the current place. So security is pretty tight. It is a secure care. And we have our fair share of incidents and that type of thing. So, you know, that's one of the interesting things about juvenile versus adult is you may get 8-year-olds in there. It's rare, but, you know, as you go up, sometimes we get 10 and 12-year-old kids. And then you get some pretty hardcore, you know, 17 and 9-month kids that you better be careful with. And so our detention officers have to walk a real fine line with these kids, and you know, we need to show some care and compassion, and you better be vigilant as well because we have our fair share of incidents. So
I was going to ask you about that. When you've got this 17-year-old 9-month kid who's almost 18 and ready to maybe not go into the adult system, but you have them there, and you've probably seen several of the kids numerous times at your facility. When you have kids like that in there that just don't seem to be getting it, and then you have this new kid who's 12 years old that walks through the door, how do you, because I know your goal is to not take this 12-year-old and turn him into this soon-to-be 18-year-old that's just not going to do the right thing.
Exactly.
How do you keep them separated and make sure this kid learns from his mistake because this kid hasn't?
That's the beauty of this new center as well, is that in the current place, we don't have a way to classify these kids. You know, basically we try and keep 12-year-olds away from 17-year-olds when we're bunking them together, but all the programming, we only have one room that we do programming in. And so we don't have a way to classify your high-risk offenders and your low-risk kids. And so in this new place, we've got different pods. And one pod is a very high risk, and one pod is a low risk. And the feel in these pods is going to be totally different. The high area is very hard, prison-like. Everything is bolted down, everything is steel. And as you go down, you can earn your way into a more rehabilitative setting and where the lower risk offenders are, and we're able to classify them. So it's an important thing because the worst kids are, you know, the best kids are never going to make the worst kids better. You know, it's always the reverse. And
okay, I see. What do you say to the person who says, you know what, this 12-year-old has done a crime, a serious crime. It was a mistake, and they're 12, and they made a big mistake. But what do you say to that person who says, you know what, you throw them in there with those guys, and you scare them. Maybe you scare the pants off of them.
You know, just being there and being away from their family scares the pants off of a 12-year-old kid. I mean, we're not there. It's not our job to flog them and punish them and be in their face. And, you know, research has shown that type of treatment doesn't work at all. Just them being away from the family is punishment. And, you know, what's gonna happen with that low-risk offender, that 12-year-old kid, is he's gonna eventually assimilate to that high-risk behavior. And then when we release the kid, you got somebody worse on your hands in society than you did before.
Well, I think you iterated that last time you were here, too. Right. You said that. Do you have a lot of kids right now? I mean, when we were talking during the break, you're talking about how kids are disappearing. We don't have as many kids.
You know, we don't. I mean, the recession, anymore. We're in one of the low times right now, and it's a strange phenomenon. I mean, crime, adult and juvenile, across the United States is down, and you know, so our numbers are fairly low.
And we were talking about that, how when the recession started, right. I can remember doing stories. We were talking about how things are going to skyrocket. People are going to start getting desperate. People who had jobs and money and homes and stuff, they're going to lose all that. And
it's strange desperate. At the height of the economy, when everybody was booming and their houses were worth $1 million and our numbers were the highest they'd ever been. We were running 60 kids in detention, and right now, you know, at the lowest point in the economy, it all dropped. And it's strange.
You came in and you want to talk about spice and bath salts. People who don't know what spice and bath salts is, spice is the equivalent to a marijuana. Bath salts would be the equivalent to cocaine, methamphetamine, but these are synthetic drugs. These are made with chemicals, and they're sold as spice and bath salts.
Right.
But they're not. Spice is supposed to be like what am I looking for? The word.
Synthetic marijuana.
It's a synthetic marijuana, but it's sold in the terms of where you burn it like incense candle.
Right.
Okay, and then you've got the bath salts. I don't know. I guess you throw them in the bathtub, whatever. But anyways, they're a serious issue, and you're seeing this in your facility.
You know, and over the past year, and as our numbers have continued to decrease, we see more mental health issues. And since the spice and bath salts has been introduced, we've seen behaviors in kids that we've never seen before
like
in the 20 years. You know, we've got kids that are destroying their bodies. They're pulling their skin off of their arms and chest and legs, and we're having psychiatrists look at these kids that have been on bath salts, and they're not sure that the kids are ever going to recover from mentally from these drugs.
Because we really don't know too much about them.
No,
what they do.
It's a new drug, and we're always chasing our tail trying to figure out exactly what it is. And every time the law seems to catch up to them, they go and change a compound and try and get ahead of it. And unfortunately, I think we can attribute several deaths in the past year and a half to spice and bath salts in our kids and kids that we've had on probation. And the behaviors of these kids, the paranoia, the violence, we've had more restraints in our detention center due to, I think, bath salts than we've ever had. You know, we were restraining 1 and 2 kids a day.
They're coming in on this, or they've got it somehow with them?
No, they come in on it, and they never seem to recover.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this is an ongoing effect.
Yeah, I mean, you know, some of the kids we had in there for 3 and 4 months, and their behavior, psychiatrists couldn't figure out any medications to help treat them with the things that they were seeing, and the paranoia and the violence and everything, and so we're way behind the 8 ball on it, and unfortunately some of these shops continue to sell this, and they know exactly what they're doing. And you know, I think they're I probably can't even say on TV what I think about these people that are selling these things to these kids. So.
All right, well, we've got to take another break.
Okay.
Scott Mabery in studio today. He's the director of the Yavapai County Juvenile Detention Facility and Probation. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I was in junior high the first time I caught my mom using denial. She had to have known her painkillers were missing because I kept stealing them. Her denial was so out of hand.
So she doesn't even know?
I'm going out.
It was like I could get away with anything.
You kids have fun.
And that was when I knew. And she was addicted to denial.
Denial is a drug. Get help. The partnership at drugfree.org.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Now, some action from the courts. Billie Jean King renewing her rivalry with Arthritis. First set, furious volley, and right to the net for a winner. Beautiful forehand there. Arthritis, stunned. And here, match point. Billie Jean with the ace, taking it in straight sets. Afterwards, a jubilant Billie Jean King.
Tennis is a weapon for me with arthritis. There's nothing like it for me to hit a ball, run to the ball, anytime, any court. I'm ready. Let's go.
What's your weapon against arthritis? Find out at fightarthritispain.org.
Welcome back to Countywide. Scott Mabery in studio with us today, Yavapai County Juvenile Probation Department. Okay, so we got a new building opening up. Let's go back to some good news, and this is going to help us help you and your staff and the teachers that come in to try to get these kids steered back in the right direction.
Right.
That story with the meth, very scary.
Yeah,
or not the meth, but the bath salts and the spice.
Right.
That's a scary story.
It is.
When are we opening again? And are we going to have a grand opening and all that good stuff? We've got like a couple minutes left in the program here.
We've got November 2nd is probably going to be when we open the probation side of things. We aren't actually going to house kids in there until probably January 1st, sometime after the new year. It's going to take us about 2 months to train all of our detention officers on the new procedures and have everything down before we actually put kids in there.
Is that tough to do?
It's been a challenge.
Who does the training?
We're going to do the training. We've gone to training ourselves on how to open new facilities and that type of thing, and we've been actually working on this for 1.5 years. And there's a work group of us and people in my department, and we all get together twice a week and we revamp our policies and procedures and just trying to get everything set for this move. It's huge.
Do you ever do tours of these facilities with juveniles? To kind of show them this is the path you don't want to go down. This is where you could wind up. Does that ever happen?
You know what? We used to, and kind of a scared straight program. Yeah. And I remember when I was a probation officer about 18 years ago, and I got to take some kids down to Florence, and we sat with inmates, and they told them all the horrible things that were going to happen to them when they got into the prison, and why you shouldn't do it, and I had 5 kids, and it scared me to death. And driving home, I had this van load, we're driving home, convinced these kids were going to turn their lives around. 3 of them went and stole a car the next day. And I thought, what the heck, are you kidding me? And research has shown that those scared straight programs really don't do any good. We do give tours in our current facility, so if a family wants to come down and do a tour, and we'll run kids through, but it's not a scared straight thing. It's a reality.
Right.
And we do those on Saturdays. I couldn't tell you what time, but if anybody wanted to do it on Saturdays, they could call our office and get set up for a tour.
All right, we're out of time. If you're in the Prescott Quad City area, 771-3156. In the Verde Valley, you can call 639-8172. Of course, all this information on the Yavapai County website. Good to see you, Scott.
Good to see you.
We'll see you again in 5 years or so?
Yeah. Maybe
all right.
sooner.
All right, that's today's Countywide. We'll talk to you again next time. Have a great weekend.